What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to a long anticipated series on this channel where we overview the most recent update for A.C.E.S MC. Now, this update has been a long time coming, and those of you that follow the channel have probably been anticipating it for quite some time, and it is officially out. It came out yesterday on Christmas Eve. I am recording this on Christmas Day. Hopefully I can get it live today, but obviously I might be a little bit busy, so it might have to go up this Friday instead, and I do apologize for that. But first, a quick story. Not too long ago, in early October, we hit 50 subscribers, and at the time I wanted to do something special to celebrate this amount of progress that we have gained on the channel and dedicated followers and etc. So I came up with a challenge for all of you where I said, you know what, to celebrate 50 subscribers I will add 50 new things to my mod in the next update. This update, the 1.0.7 update. And not only that, but at the time I was unable to work on the mod. So from the time that I posted the video celebrating and announcing the challenge to the time where I was once again able to work on the mod, any new subscribers I got, I would add a whole nother thing. So we ended up getting 55 subscribers in total, and thus I had to add 55 new things to the mod. And boy oh boy, that was a pretty daunting task, but looking back on it, I'm actually kind of surprised at how quickly we were able to do it. In just over 2 months, we have finally finished this update, the biggest update to A.C.E.S MC ever. And it's all thanks to you guys. I really appreciate it. And now we are sitting pretty at over 180 subscribers. We're almost at 200. So please leave your comments down below in what you think we should do for the 200 subscriber special. I will go ahead and warn you, I will not add 200 things to the mod. I refuse. 50 took long enough. But other comments are of course welcome. But without further ado, let's hop right into it, starting where we always start, with brand new additions to the mod. But before we hop into things, I do want to give a huge shout out to all the fans who have been tuning into the streams. Yes, I have been making this mod and this update live on stream, so some of you will know pretty much everything that I'm about to announce. Some of you will know almost none of it. But I want to shout out everyone who's tuned in, and especially everyone who has joined our community Discord, which we had made just a few weeks back. There's a link for that in the description if you would like to join, to not only share your mod work and all the progress that you've done, but also be able to ask me questions and keep up with A.C.E.S MC more reliably. If you choose to join, thank you so much. I do appreciate the support. So here we are in our little Pseudo kitchen, and anything that you see here that you don't recognize from vanilla was actually already in A.C.E.S MC Overhaul. None of these are new blocks, so if you like what you see, then consider downloading the mod. But we're going to start with foods. First and foremost, up here we have 4 new types of fruit, such as cherries, bananas, oranges, or lemons. Now these are all fruits that drop naturally from trees the same way that apples do. The cherries, of course, dropping from cherry blossom trees and cherry blossom leaves. The bananas will drop from palm leaves, which palm trees are a new tree that are added by my mod. And the oranges here will drop from acacia trees. Now I know that's not super accurate, but I was running out of special types of trees, and I thought that the acacia trees made the most sense for the orange. And then the lemons here will drop from jungle leaves. Once again, I know that's not super accurate, but I wanted to make these all drop from vanilla leaves in game, and I thought that that kind of made the most sense for the types of fruits that we have here. Next up, we have a bit of a special case, in that it is something kind of unique in this update, and that is apple slices. There isn't really anything that goes with the apple slices, but you can now put the apples along with the knife up into your crafting recipe and cut your apple into apple slices. Now, along with these simple foods, we also have a lot of fairly complex foods right up here in this cabinet, and we are going to start with the tacos. We have 2 different types of tacos, a chicken taco and a beef taco. Now, the crafting recipe for these tacos is, first you need to get yourself some flour, which was already in the mod. Go like this to make yourself a nice taco shape. Add whatever your protein is right here in the center, and then add the ingredients up here at the top. So that will give you a beef taco, and if you put the chicken in there, that will give you a chicken taco. Now, I do believe that you can interchange these. No, I just nailed it first try. So it is lettuce, cheese, tomato in that order. I can't make this a shapeless recipe, because if I did make this a shapeless recipe, then you'd be able to put the flour and the chicken wherever you want. So I do recommend something like JEI to help you figure out what these recipes are. But it is lettuce, cheese, and tomato in that order to get yourself a chicken taco, and then replace the chicken with beef to get yourself a beef taco. Now, these things are pretty beefy in terms of the amount of food and saturation they provide, because none of the food and saturation from any of these items is lost. So it is a little bit of an improvement on steak overall as a whole, but you are losing a little bit from the flour, as just the flour here does not give you that much, despite the fact that this is almost 2 pieces of bread worth of food. And a quick shout out to one of the fans, Mining Blue Taco, who of course suggested adding tacos into the game, which was a great suggestion that fit in perfectly. And he is one of the viewers in our Discord. He's almost always tuning into the stream, so big shout out to Taco. I do appreciate it. He actually has a couple of new additions that he came up with on in this update. But the next one we were going to cover is not one of those, which is the dough, the bun, and of course the burgers. So if you take some water here and some flour like this, then you will get 8 pieces of dough. You can then throw those dough in a smoker or into a furnace, and they will smelt up into a bun. If you take that bun and throw it in the crafting recipe, this one is indeed shapeless, but we can put a nice piece of steak in there, some tomato slices, and some lettuce, and then we get ourselves a burger. Now keep in mind this is shapeless, so you can even craft this in the 2x2 inventory, which is honestly super convenient. But if you want a cheeseburger, you're gonna have to use an actual crafting table. Once again, these burgers and this cheeseburger, they are quite filling, as there is no food lost whatsoever. The nutritional value of all these ingredients is combined into the burger and the cheeseburger when you eat them, so it's a pretty reliable food source. But this last addition in here of complex foods was also an idea from Mining Blue Taco, and that is pizza. So you can blame him for the fact that you can now put pineapple on pizza in Minecraft. Granted, he didn't say pineapple pizza, but we also added pineapples in this update, and don't worry, we'll get to that. So it just made sense, and even though I've gotten a lot of hate for it already, I need to add a quick disclaimer. Because y'all are going to be commenting down below, personally, I don't like pineapple on my pizza. There's only one situation in which I will eat pineapple on pizza. Well, first off, I'm not picky. I'll eat anything. But I will eat and enjoy and maybe even ask for pineapple on pizza, and that is in a Hawaiian pizza, where instead of using a tomato base, you use a barbecue sauce base, then add some ham on there, some bacon and pineapple and whatnot, and that actually tastes really good. But pineapple on a tomato sauce based pizza just doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't taste good. I'm not a fan. It's very weird. But I went ahead and added it for the people who are a fan. So in order to make this pizza, you are once again want to start out with some dough, except this time you are not going to cook it. And then, of course, as you can probably imagine, you're going to want to put 3 dough here at the base, 3 tomato slices right up here, and then 3 slices of cheese right up here at the top. And that's going to give you a nice cheese pizza. Now, I know that none of this stuff is cooked, but you still don't have to cook this cheese pizza, just because honestly I was too lazy to add a raw cheese pizza and a cooked cheese pizza, and the texture for them was going to look pretty much identical. It just seemed like an extra step that was unnecessary, so you don't have to do that. But jumping a little bit ahead of ourselves, if you add some pineapple chunks in there after making a cheese pizza, you can then put pineapple on the pizza and get a pineapple pizza. And then if you take your pineapple pizza and add some bacon bits, then you can make a ham and pineapple pizza. You can also just take a standard cheese pizza and then add pineapple and bacon bits at the same time to get yourself a ham and pineapple pizza. And once again, these are all shapeless crafting, so you can place these wherever you want. Our next addition is a bowl of rice, which is quite simple. You literally just put a bowl right in there and then some rice around it like this, and you get yourself a nice bowl of rice. And then, of course, we can also get a sushi roll. The sushi roll is pretty easy to make. You just put 4 dried kelp in the corner and 4 rice in the centers here, and then a raw salmon. Does have to be raw. It cannot be cooked directly in the center, and you will get yourself 2 sushi rolls. There are also 2 new types of sandwich to go with the BLT. We have a chicken sandwich and a ham and cheese sandwich, which, by the way, happens to be my favorite sandwich. Of course, this is on toast, and I like a ham and cheese on bagel. I think that that is the absolute best, and that does have, of course, have to be a hot ham and cheese on bagel, but I think that is the absolute best sandwich in the world, and you can fight me on that in the comments. Now, making these sandwiches is pretty simple. I believe it is also shapeless crafting, so we can just come in here with 2 pieces of toast, add in a lettuce, a cheese, not a lettuce, a tomato, a cheese, and a lettuce, and then a chicken, and then we get ourselves a nice chicken sandwich. And just to demonstrate that this is shapeless, we can move these around, put them wherever we want. Next up, we have a ham and cheese sandwich, which is pretty simple. You just put 2 pieces of toast, 1 pork chop, and then 2 cheese, just because I did not want this to be a 2x2 craftable item. And personally, I like to put cheese under the ham and over the ham, so it's nice and cheesy. But that gives you a nice ham and cheese sandwich. But that's going to do it. All of this stuff right here is our complex foods. We have our new fruits and basic foods up here. And all of this other stuff is pretty much everything you will need in order to craft the items that we have here. So this is pretty much it for the new foods. But that's not entirely true, because we do have another type of bush. Now you may be thinking, aren't these blueberry bushes? But no, those are our blueberry bushes up there. These are actually elderberry bushes. And they will do the same thing if I am in survival mode. They will hurt me when I go inside of them. And they work exactly the same as our other types of bushes. The only difference is if I go ahead and eat elderberries, which it looks like I have to be in creative mode for, then it will give me poison, because of course elderberries are poisonous. So you really can't eat these unless you go ahead and throw them in a smoker or furnace. Now if you do this and you go ahead and cook up the elderberries, then you will end up with cooked elderberries right here. And cooked elderberries are the exact same as other types of berries. You can eat them no problem, and I believe they even give you the same amount of food. The only difference is you cannot replant them once they have been cooked. Now we also have another special type of fruit that grows naturally in a biome that I've actually already mentioned. And if you're thinking about it, you can probably guess that that is the pineapple, which we have right here. So these pineapples are really, really cool. I made these on stream with you guys, and I am super happy with the way they turned out. They are a bit rare. They're supposed to spawn kind of frequently, but in very small patches. And with how dense jungles are, that makes them pretty hard to find. Now, I flew pretty much all the way down this strip. You gotta admit, though, it is pretty small of a strip. But I didn't find a single pineapple until just now, right here at the end. That doesn't mean that there aren't any pineapples hidden in there, but it just means I didn't find one. You can see they don't exactly blend in, but they don't exactly stand out either, so they are a little difficult to find. However, if I get myself some bone meal here, and I bone meal this pineapple, once it is grown, that yellow spot sticks out like a sore thumb. So if you live near a jungle biome, and these guys have some time to grow, which they will do over naturally, it is much, much easier to find them. And once they are grown, you can punch that top piece right there to get the pineapple back. However, if I break the bottom part, I get nothing. So these guys are pretty interesting. They're very, very cool, very, very unique, and they do have 3 growth stages. The first one here, the second one here, which is the one that you will find spawning naturally in the jungles. So if you do find this, you might want to bring some bone meal along with you so that you can get that pineapple up on top, break that, and get your nice pineapple item, which is very, very cool. I'm a huge fan of these pineapples and the way that they turned out. And of course, if you want the pineapple chunks that we saw earlier, you're just gonna have to put a knife and pineapple in the crafting grid. It is once again shapeless, so it doesn't matter where you put any of these, but just put these in the crafting grid and you'll get 3 pineapple chunks per pineapple. Now the pineapples themselves are not edible. I am holding the right click and nothing is happening, but once you've cut them into chunks, these pineapple chunks are indeed edible, and I believe they're pretty much a little bit better. Each pineapple is a little bit more healthy than an apple once you've eaten all 3 pineapple chunks. I believe the pineapple chunks are pretty much the equivalent of a melon. And that brings us on to our next addition, which I'm going to walk along the waterline and hopefully we'll find them. Right here is our cattails. Now the cattails are pretty cool. If we go ahead and break them, we get ourselves some cattails right here, and then we can replant them as long as they are along the water's edge. Cattails are kind of like sugarcane, except instead of being growable, they just spawn along the edge of the water. They also work the same as flowers or double tall flowers, so if you just hit them with bone meal, they will duplicate themselves and you will be able to get pretty much as many cattails as you want. Now, not only are these cattails decorative, but they are also edible, only if you cook them. So if you go ahead and throw these cattails in here and cook them up, it doesn't have to be a smoker, it can also be a furnace or even a campfire, but if you go ahead and cook up the cattails, you can then eat them. A quick disclaimer, you can only cook and eat cattails healthily at home if they are juvenile cattails. Once they have fully grown up, you are not going to want to eat those things. This is information I found on the internet. I just saw that, some places, some people do harvest young cattails, cook them, I think they boil them, I'm not sure, and then eat them. So I wouldn't suggest that you ever try this at home. It's just something that I thought would be cool as a little functionality addition to cattails for our mod. Which brings us right along to our last new naturally spawning plant. Look at this, I totally missed that beehive down there, that's so cool. Which you might be thinking I'm talking about some new version of the strawberries right here, but that is not the case. This is actually poison ivy, and when I walk into it, it of course gives me poison. Now these spawn like flowers do in small patches in any grassy biome, grassy area, such as the plains or the forests here. But now you're gonna have to be watching your step when you're just running through the forest, walking around, because you might just stumble across a patch of poison ivy. But moving right along in our additions, I have a quick question for all of you. What spawn egg am I holding in my hand right now? For anyone that said Sniffer, you are correct. This is the Sniffer spawn egg, and I'm going to spawn in a few of them here because I do want them to dig up some nice beautiful seeds for us, because we have some brand new Sniffer seeds that the Sniffers can find and dig up. So if we give it just a moment to wait for one of these guys to find some seeds. And there we go, just like that, this guy found one of our new seeds, the bat flower seeds. So let's go ahead and cover this while these guys are digging around, and maybe we'll get the other type of seed as well. So the bat flower seeds, in fact, all of the new seeds that they can dig up work the same as the previous ones, where you need to start with some tilled land, plant them down in order to get their full-grown versions. Now, there is a bug that exists with these plants, but I couldn't find any sort of fix, and I wanted to get this update out, so it is just going to be an existing bug, but it shouldn't affect gameplay at all. It's just going to be a little bit derpy and a little bit weird, so bear with me for a bit. These will grow naturally, but if we go ahead and bone meal them, they will go through all of the growth stages, and this is the bug. The top part of this flower here did not generate on bone meal, and it will not generate on natural growth either. But however, if we go to survival mode and we break this, we will get the full crop, the full flower, no problem. And then if we plant it back down, it will plant with the top and bottom. So when you're first growing these, both of the new types of flowers, they will have issues, but this is our bat flower, which, just like all of the other Sniffer flowers, is inspired by a real life flower. You can go ahead and Google the bat flower, and I think this is a pretty good representation, and not only that, but a beautiful addition to the flowers in Minecraft. Perhaps the coolest part is that the bat flower makes black dye. So if you want easy sources of black dye, or relatively easy. You no longer have to rely on wither roses. You can now get yourself a bat flower and pretty much farm them up the same way. Now, if we go ahead and plant the bat flower seeds here and break the base, we do get those seeds back, so you're not going to lose anything if you destroy your bat flower too early or anything like that. But let's turn around, and right here we have another type of seed that sniffer over there has dug up. And if we plant this, we get ourselves a nice corpse flower. We can then bone meal through the stages. This is also supposed to have a top, and then of course this is also supposed to have a top, but they just simply don't, which is unfortunate. But if we go ahead and break this, we do get that corpse flower, and then if we place it like this, it does place in with both top and bottom. And now I think these are also a pretty cool addition and very, very unique addition to the flowers in game. And if we go ahead and break these can also give us yellow dye, and I think they're pretty cool. Now I'm going to keep adding different types of flowers to the sniffer until there is one type of flower for every single type of dye. So if you are following along, we already have the yellow flower and the yellow dye, the black flower and the black dye, the orange flower and the orange dye, and the cyan flower and the cyan dye, which means we will get up to 12 more types of seeds and 12 more types of flowers that our sniffers will one day be able to dig up. Going along with this, we still need a red flower, we still need a green flower, a lime flower, tons and tons and tons of different flowers, including white, gray, light gray. So if you have any ideas for that, please keep in mind I would like to keep them along the same theme of real-life plants taken to maybe a bit of a fantasy level, but I do want them to be inspired by real-life plants, and I want them to be able to convert into their own unique dye. So if you have any ideas, please leave it in the comments down below. But while we're here with some tilled farmland, we do have one new crop that was added with this update, and that is the cotton crop. Now, these are some cotton seeds, and if we were in survival, and we just started breaking some grass here, we're of course going to get plenty of other types of seeds. This is the bug that I found. These are tomato seeds. They look like they don't have a proper texture right now, so that's going to be a bug for this update. We can add that to the bugs list. But if we break these seeds one day, eventually we will be able to get ourselves some cotton seeds. There we go, just like that. And then these cotton seeds we can plant over here on some tilled farm land. And these are a beetroot style crop, although I am probably going to convert them to a wheat or an 8-stage growth crops. For those of you that don't know, beetroots have 4 growth stages, and most other crops, I believe all other crops, have an 8th growth stage. So these only have 4 growth stage to make it easier on myself, but one day I think I'm going to convert it to an 8 growth stage, because if we start bone mealing them, you'll notice pretty quickly that the stages are pretty drastic changes from each other, and I'm not a big fan at how drastically it changes. I think I want to make this change a lot more slow and a lot more progressive. But if we then go ahead and break that, we're going to get, of course, a couple of cotton seeds back and 1 piece of cotton. And this cotton is pretty useful because if we get 4 of them, we can then craft them into a cotton block, the same way that you can make wool blocks out of string. You'll also notice that this cotton is very similar to wool. It sounds the same, and it's even in the same color palette right here, but it's a lot smoother and a lot less rough the way wool versus cotton really is. So this should hopefully give players a lot more diversity in the colors, a way to kind of create gradients while building with wool. And of course, this cotton is fully dyeable. So all of these right up here are our different types of cotton, and they work and behave literally the exact same as wool. And just like wool in my mod, only there are stairs, slabs, corners, halves, and walls for all the cotton. It's all flammable. It's literally the exact same as wool, except instead of getting it from an animal, you get it from a crop, and it's a little bit smoother for every single texture. And that's just about gonna do it for every new thing that you can find on the surface. But if we dive down into this cave right here, we just might find a new, very, very special ore, and that is called Opal ore. Opal ore is the only ore that spawns in replace of sandstone, and only sandstone. So if you're going to want some opal ore, then you're going to have to probably come out here to a desert to find it. Now, it is pretty common if you find any big openings in your desert like this. I have pretty much found at least some opal at every single one of these openings, so it's not like it is incredibly rare, and it does spawn in decent sized quantities, though nothing super huge or anything like that. It's kind of like coal. But trust me, you'll know when you find it, because unlike coal, this is a very bright, very, very colorful ore. Now, true opal in the real world is kind of a different color no matter where you find it. It depends on how you refine it. And what angle you look at it from, the way the light is hitting it. So I've tried to recreate that not only in the ore, but in the item right here. I think it might be a touch too colorful, but at the same time, I also really, really like it. And then you can take that opal, once again, in your little crafting grid right here, and create a block of opal. And if you take a look at that, you'll notice pretty quickly that it has a changing texture. Now, this texture change is not subtle, and it is a work in progress, most definitely. I am definitely going to change this texture, but you can see right here the full texture length. That texture starts to spread outwards, and the blue comes back in the center, and eventually I want it to keep going like that, but for now it just kind of goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and I want to make this a lot more subtle, a lot more gradual, and I want this to feel less jaggedy and less like a rhythm and more like it's just kind of exploding in and out, almost like a kaleidoscope. And I believe you can not only find this in desert biomes, but you can also find this in beaches, although I am not sure. We can check really quick though here. It looks like the only restriction is that it spawns in sandstone with no biome restriction whatsoever. So it is definitely indeed going to be able to spawn in beaches as well. Literally any biome where you can find naturally generated sandstone. But if we dig even deeper into the earth, we have yet even more new things. Looks like there's a trial chamber down there. That's pretty cool. But what we are looking for is another new type of geode. If you missed the last update video, we added this type of geode, the malachite geode right here. And the malachite has its own special texture. It does not mimic or mirror the amethyst, and the buds for malachite are also completely unique because malachite is just very, very different from amethyst in the way that it generates. So I'm really happy with these, but we have a whole nother type of geode that is even rarer than both amethyst and malachite. So if we fly around here for a bit, we can find a nice yellow colored geode right here that does mirror the amethyst geode, except this is not amethyst, this is pyrite. Now, pyrite is pretty cool, and it also has another name, which is fool's gold. So if you've heard of fool's gold, this is it. This is the fool's gold. It's actually called pyrite, its official name that is. And if you get yourself some pyrite, it is the exact same as the amethyst, except you can use these shards to make armor. Now, one day you might be able to make tools, but it didn't really make sense to me, so if you think we should be able to make pyrite tools, please leave a comment down below. But you can go ahead and throw this pyrite armor on, and it does look an absolute ton like gold. In fact, it looks so much like gold that piglins will actually mistake it for gold while you are wearing it. However, if you take a look, you'll notice that it has a much higher armor value than gold. In fact, I believe the armor value is roughly the same as iron, and it also has a much higher durability. So now, if you want to negate piglin aggro, and you are too early in the game to get any of my piglin armor, which is a netherite tier armor that also negates piglin aggro, well, then you can find yourself some pyrite, and pyrite is going to be the equivalent of iron, so that you're not taking too much of a hit putting on a gold type piece of armor while in the nether. And while we're talking about pyrite and our new gemstones, there are now cut gemstones for every single type of gem. So if we search amethyst, we can do cut amethyst right here. which I believe was indeed added in the previous update, although I'm not sure. There's also cut malachite, so it's not as obvious here, but if you look at this, this is regular malachite and this is cut malachite. And once you've put them side by side, you do notice quite the bit of difference. Regular malachite is a lot more jagged and rough, whereas cut malachite is a lot smoother, although I do think that they fit together very well. And pyrite, as I'm sure you noticed, is the same deal, where we have standard pyrite and then polished pyrite. And this polished pyrite, or cut pyrite, is much closer to a gold block than this is. Just for a comparison, here we have the raw gold, and here we have a gold block. Here we have cut pyrite and the regular pyrite, and you can see where one at first glance might mistake one for the other. But we're going to quickly come back to the overworld just because I have a couple more changes I want to cover in here before we get to some of the nether changes. I forgot to mention it at the start of the video, but this update updates the mod to 1.21.1, so we now have trial chambers, which I think we saw earlier, but that does create a bit of a problem because I already had polished tuff, my own type of polished tuff, and now there of course is Mojang's vanilla polished tuff. So instead of deleting this block, I've opted to change it to rough tuff, which I think is pretty fun, and it does look a little bit rougher than the regular tuff and much rougher than the polished tuff. And then the tuff pillar, of course, can also stay. It does look more like the rough tuff, so maybe I should call this a rough tuff pillar and then create a separate version that kind of mirrors these blocks, and that is just the regular tuff pillar, or maybe a polished tuff pillar. But please let me know what y'all think, and whether or not I should delete this. Maybe I should call it a column. Are there any other types of pillars? Yeah, there are. Yeah, it is. It's meant to mirror these. So maybe I should have a polished one. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. But I bring all of this up because there is now mossy tuff bricks, just like there are every other type of tuff bricks. And it has a full set. I'm not going to grab all of it, but just to kind of show you some of it, you can now place this down, and I think that looks absolutely beautiful, super mossy, and it fits in very well. And just like all of our other brick types, they have walls and fences, although I think maybe I forgot to tag these walls and these fences as walls and fences because they're not connecting to each other, which could potentially be another bug, but I will look into that. And our next addition right here is one of the earliest ones we added, at least on stream, I believe, but it is still to this day one of my favorite additions that we've added so far. This is the tanning rack, and if we go ahead and grab a couple different types of leather, we can put all of our hides, our pelts, and our skins on here. If we place the rabbit hide, the beaver hide, the squirrel hide, the deer pelt, the elephant pelt, and then the wolf skin on here, it will hold all of them. They will dry out and become leather. So if we just do / game rule random tick speed and set it to 300, they will now dry at about 100 times the rate they otherwise would. And you can see over time they all turn into leather. Now if we right click these at any point, it will drop them off. So you can see we got that beaver's hide back, and then we can put it back on there. And then if we right click here, we get ourselves a nice achievement for taking leather off of a tanning hide. So that's how you can easily convert all of the new types of leather into leather, because of course you can't use these to craft leather armor or anything else that you would usually be able to do with leather. So I wanted you to be able to right click it, and you'll notice if you right click it with anything in your hand, it doesn't work. You have to right click with an open hand, and it does kind of glitch around. I think I'm going to try and make that item spawn up a little bit higher, or maybe in front of the rack or something like that, because it is a little bit weird, but we'll work on that and we'll fix it. It also works quite well as a little ladder because of the way these bounding boxes are, which I think is kind of fun. But while we're on the topic, let's go ahead and get ourselves a crafting table and a couple of wolf skins, because there is now a use for this wolf skin. If you craft it like this, oh, wait a minute. If you craft it like this and then put a little piece of thread up here, you're going to get yourself a wolf cloak, and that does a little bit of armor when on the body, but more than that, if you put that on, first off, you get yourself a nice achievement. but you also get a buff that is permanently applied as long as you have this on, called Heart of the Pack. Now what that Heart of the Pack buff is going to do is when you are near a wolf, tamed or untamed, it's going to give you a speed boost and a damage boost. So if you have some tamed wolves or dogs as pets and you get yourself a nice wolf cloak, which let's go in F5 mode to see how that looks. It doesn't sway in the wind or anything like that, unfortunately, but I do think, especially when you're just standing here, it looks really, really good. I do kind of wish it would sway in the wind, and maybe we can add that effect. But whenever you have this cloak on and sacrifice just a little bit of chest piece damage or defense, it does give you a pretty good speed boost and strength boost. Plus, you've got these dogs to help defend you anyways. So why would you even need a chest piece? You don't. It's that simple. But that brings us along to our next change, which is, of course, the loot sack, or the sack of X, or sack of whatever it may be. There are only two types right now. This one is the sack of seeds, and if we go and put this on our inventory and click on it, you'll notice that it gives us some random seeds. So if we click on it and back up, it has a chance of giving us anywhere from 4 to 12 different types of seeds. This seed texture being missing is really bothering me. And if you're in creative mode, in fact, it won't even remove the sack from your inventory. But if you're in survival mode, it of course will consume this loot sack and just give you the loot. But if we come over here, we have another type of loot sack, and that is the sack of ores. So if we go ahead and clear out our inventory real quick just to make room, and then we right click on the sack of ores, you'll notice it has a pretty high chance of giving us the copper tier ores, a little bit lower of a chance of getting some iron tier ores. But if you really click these away, you'll get just an absolute ton. You have the ability to get every single type of ore in the game, including redstone, coal, emeralds, diamond tier ores, and etc. Although you might have to open a good few. So at this point I've opened 5 or 6, and you'll notice we still haven't really gotten any diamond tier ores. But you know, that is the game that you play. These loot sacks are yet another addition provided to us by Mining Blue Taco. So big shout out to him for this idea. But moving right along to our new entities, we have the mossling. So if you get yourself some moss and put it in this pattern right here. Oh, wait a minute. I think you need carpet for the top. So if you get yourself some moss and a moss carpet and put it in this pattern right here, you will get a mossling den. And of course, this mossling den will spawn mosslings. If I go ahead and place this down, it will always permanently have a chance of spawning in mosslings, and the more moss that I place nearby, the higher that chance is. So if I start placing some moss around it like this, then now it has the maximum chance of spawning in a mossling, although it is still kind of rare. So we're going to go ahead and spawn one in right here. And you'll notice that these guys are kind of like endermites, combined with a snow golem. So wherever they go, they will have a chance of spreading moss carpet below them, and when they wake up, they'll kind of pop up like that, run around for just a little bit, and then once they're done, they'll kind of sink back down into their little sitting pose, which I think is so cute. You'll see when I push them, his head is he stands up, his little legs pop out, and his little head goes up. He's got little tiny eyes. These guys are very, very cute, and I think they'll make a lovely addition to any garden because they look like little moving stones. I think they're adorable. However, the coolest part is if I go ahead and slash game rule random tick speed and bump it up to about, say, 30,000, and give this guy just a moment, you will notice that they have the chance to spawn flowers on their back over time. We do seem to have a problem, and that is that these guys are not spawning flowers on their back whatsoever, which is weird because it was definitely working only a little bit ago, so I'm not sure what has caused them to stop, which is unfortunate, which might be a bug. But if it is, then once they spawn the little flowers on their back, you can hit them with the shears, shear them off, and then you will get pink petals, which is of course the type of flower that they grow on their back once they do. I really wish I could show you that, which is unfortunate. But the next new entity we have is the turkey, which pretty much perfectly mirrors the chicken, except for the fact that it obviously looks nothing like them. Now this is actually smaller than a chicken, which is a problem. I did not mean to make them this small. and I will, of course, make them bigger at a certain point, but for now, they're just going to be this small, which I guess I could label as a bug, although it is well known, and I knew that was going to be the case. I was just kind of too lazy to scale them up and retexture them, so maybe I can scale them automatically in-game. I will look into it, trying to make them just a little bit bigger, but if you kill them, they have a chance of course, dropping turkey, and then raw turkey. This is cooked turkey, but either way, that's neither here nor there. Why, when I search turkey, is the raw turkey not coming up? It seems that our raw turkey here is actually not in a creative tab, which is a problem that we can fix right now and will be fixed in the next update. Oh, here we are. It looks like they are indeed spawning pink petals. It's just taking a little bit. So I'll probably make that a lot more likely, a lot higher of a chance for them to spawn pink petals on their back, which, I mean, first off, look how adorable they are. But if you go ahead and right click on them, once you do that, you'll shear those petals off and get them, and then let them grow some more. But moving right along, we now have a brand new hostile entity, the cockroach, which I think fits in perfectly. It's kind of like a spider. Everyone hates them. They're disgusting, and they're just a natural hostile entity. Now, I added these because I desperately wanted to have a new dungeon mob, so these cockroaches will spawn in dungeon spawners, which is very, very cool. They are the only mob we've ever added that will do that. They are, of course, hostile to the player if they are in survival mode. So if I go into survival mode here, you'll notice it starts chasing me down, trying to attack me, etc., etc. And then if I go back into spectator or into creative mode, it stops immediately. Oh, it looks like I got some phantom spawning in. But these cockroaches are pretty cool because when you kill them, they drop carapace, which, as you can see here, can be crafted into armor. But this isn't just any armor. This is actually an upgrade from chainmail armor. So if I go ahead and put this on and then go into F5 mode, you'll notice it looks pretty much identical to chainmail in the fact that it is a strict standard pattern. It is the same bounding box as chainmail, but the idea here is that you have coated your chainmail armor in carapace to give yourself even more defense. Now, this armor is actually better than iron tier armor, but not quite as good as diamond, so it's somewhere in between. If you take a look at it, you'll notice that the chest piece and the leggings have even more armor defense than iron does, but the helmets and the boots don't. But they also have way more durability. If you want to craft yourself some carapace armor, the first thing you're going to have to do is get some chainmail armor. But if you place it just like this and encode it in a helmet, you'll see you now get a carapace helmet. If you make a carapace chest piece and put that right there, you'll get the carapace chest piece. Same with the leggings, and of course the same with the boots. So if I take that out right there, put the boots in there, it does have to be there, it can't be up here, then you will be able to get yourself a full set of carapace armor. So now there's a little bit more of a reason to go hunt down chainmail armor, because as of right now, chainmail is pretty much useless, which I really was just not a fan of. This gives chainmail a pretty good, reliable use. Which brings us to our last new overworld entity, the alligator, which look at this guy perching up here on a root. This guy is so cool. I'm really happy with the way these guys turned out. I struggled a lot with making them blocky the way Minecraft is, but not too blocky so that it looked kind of gross and disgusting. I do hope that you guys can tell that these are an alligator and not a crocodile. Oh my gosh, there we go. That was strange. That's probably because mud doesn't exactly have a full height. But when I showed this to people on stream, they were immediately able to recognize that this is an alligator. The coolest part about these guys is they, even though it doesn't exactly make sense, you're not going to want to approach an alligator. If I put my game mode in survival, they aren't hostile, they are safe to approach, there's no problems here. But if I hit them, they are going to attack me and attack me with a vengeance. So you can see they walk around quite slowly, but as soon as I hit them, they are off to the races, sprinting, really coming at you quite quickly, which is indeed how alligators walk, and they swim even faster, which is just absolutely ridiculous and scary. So you're not going to want to mess with these guys, although it does look like their pathfinding through this swamp is not exactly ideal. Alligators have quite a big bounding box, And they have a really cool attack animation that I hope you saw. I think I got it on screen for just a second there. It is a quick animation, but I'm a huge fan of these guys, especially because once you kill them, they drop a little something called reptile leather. So if you take this reptile leather, of course, you can make regular leather armor out of it. Well, you can make reptile leather armor out of it, I should say. So if I go ahead and equip this reptile leather armor and then go into F5 mode, you'll see it looks pretty much identical to leather armor, except it is all green and you are the same color as that crocodile there. This has slightly more durability and I believe slightly more armor defense than regular leather armor does. So if you're brave enough to take on some alligators and eventually one day some crocodiles, then you'll be rewarded with just a little bit better armor in the early game. But that's going to do it for our overworld entities. We do have one last entity to discuss hiding in the Nether. And this is perfect. This is the exact biome we wanted to land in, because if we take a look around, you'll notice pretty quickly that this is no ordinary soulfire. This is a soulfire sprite, and I do love this guy's little animations. He hops around these the soul sand valleys, and he is an absolute menace. If you go in survival mode here, he is immediately going to start targeting us and running at us. Oh no! And we are at quite a low health, so I don't want to die here. But you can see that these guys just really hop around, and they are just so cool. I am really happy with the way these guys turned out, especially their animations when you hit them. So you can see pretty quickly that they kind of just hop around. But if I go ahead and hit this guy, you'll see that he emits flame particles. And once he dies, he creates, instead of just falling over and dying like a standard entity would, he actually bursts into flames and dissipates, which is super freaking cool. And then we get some soul flames for our effort. There is one last really cool feature with this guy, and if I do /summon lightning bolt here, you'll see that this guy, when he gets struck by lightning, actually duplicates themselves. Now, there is a cooldown here. If I do it again, you can see that it doesn't just spam away. There is a little bit of a cooldown, but either way, it does emit some flame particles. But every time I do it, as long as the cooldown has passed, which is only a couple seconds, then it will duplicate itself, which is pretty cool, even though lightning would only ever be in the overworld. So if you wanted to create a soulfire flame farm, then maybe you want to get some of these guys out into the overworld. Try and bait them through your portal, get them trapped with some lightning rods, and then during thunderstorms, you might be able to really farm up some of these soul flames. But maybe, just maybe, it's just more advantageous to build something in the Soul Sand Valley here. Who knows? Guess we're just going to have to wait and see. And these soul flames are really nice because they are our third tier 2 fuel, which means not only can you use them for, regular furnaces and whatnot, and they will burn for quite a long time, but you can actually use them in our crucible. So if we throw some soul flame down there and some blackstone up here, then it burns up for quite a bit. I'm not entirely sure how long it burns. I think this is our longest fuel, so it's even longer than blaze rods, but I'm not sure. And then you'll also notice I've doubled the amount of lava that you get from blackstone, but not just blackstone. Every single piece of stone now creates double the amount of lava, I should say, as it did before. So you're going to be able to get lava from this crucible a lot faster. And that's because I kind of realized that they've already made a way to get lava really easily using the dripstone method and cauldrons. Now, you do have to create a pretty big lava farm to make that efficient, but I just thought this crucible was a little bit slow. It wasn't keeping up, so doubling the amount of lava you got per seemed like a good choice for me, because even though this says tank level 160, you got to get up to 1,000 before you can even get a single bucket. So I just might double it yet again, but that's going to be a wait and see. Let me know in the comments down below if you think this should be even higher. But that brings us out of the Nether to another pretty nice addition, which I think is very fun, called the Fungal Flatbread. Now, despite what this looks like, first off, you'll get an advancement, but this is not edible. I cannot eat it, but I can use it as a sword. This is a sword bread, which is pretty cool. The idea here is that this is a rotted fungus-filled piece of flat bread, and those fungal fibers are creating a very stiff, very hard piece of bread that is so hard you can actually use it as a not super reliable, but definitely usable type of sword. Now, I believe that this attack speed and attack damage is roughly better than stone. So if we search sword right here, you'll see this has the same attack damage as the fungal flat bread, but a little bit slower attack speed. So you can attack just a little bit faster with the fungal flatbread, making it do a little bit more damage, but not quite as good as an iron sword. So early on, before you have discovered some iron, if you get yourself a piece of bread and then some mushrooms of any kind, it doesn't matter, but just any type of mushrooms, and then surround that bread in mushrooms, you can get yourself the fungal flatbread. This idea was given to me by another viewer, Rabatata. He knows I'm bad at pronouncing his name. He doesn't mind. Rabatata_extreme. So thank you so much for this idea. I do really appreciate it. Look how cool it looks when you hold it, right? Like, the other items you hold it like this, but this one, you wield this thing like a freaking weapon, which I think is just so cool. Thank you so much for this idea. But all of that brings us to our only new overworld structure, which we have added. And if we kind of move along right here, you'll see this is the ruined ritual site. Now, this is very ruined because this tree kind of spawned on top of it, which is a little bit ridiculous, but you'll notice that this almost looks kind of like Stonehenge, or at least that's the inspiration I was going for. And it's very, very cool. It's using a mix between the mossy Tuff bricks here and the new Tuff bricks that were added in 1.21.1. But the idea here, I believe that these will only spawn in dark oak forest, if I am remembering correctly. And it contains these ruined altars right here. So my belief, if you have not seen the newest update to Minecraft, the Pale Gardens update, then you'll notice that that Pale Garden looks a lot like a dark oak forest that has become corrupted. And the dark oak mansions are only in dark oak forest, so there's clearly some type of very strong magical tie in the lore of Minecraft with dark oak forests. So I think this is a ritual site that witches have set up years ago but since abandoned, leaving behind the altars that they used to use, and perhaps the Pale Gardens are a bad experiment gone wrong, or a witch's experiment gone completely wrong, and it ruined the whole biome and they had to evacuate. And once we get the Pale Gardens in this update, I have some really cool ideas expanding upon that idea of the lore. I do really love the lore of Minecraft and how loose it is, and I would like to play into that with my mod. I don't want to confirm or deny anything. I think that's the best part about Minecraft lore, how, you know, it's up to the player to interpret what the lore actually is, but all the stuff they add kind of hints at and leans into it. So that's kind of what we're doing here, as well as expanding upon the magic of our mod, trying to branch out from just enchantments and potions to making it a little bit more advanced. So with all that said, if we give ourselves a brush here, we can actually brush our ruined altar, and it has a chance of going to the next stage or simply destroying itself because we were too hard on it. But let's keep going like this, and hopefully it's not supposed to break itself like that if it's not progressing. So that's a little bit of a weird visual glitch. But hopefully we can get a fixed altar before we destroy all of these ones. So come on now. Ah, dang it. So if this was the case, you're probably going to have to find another ruined altar site and try again to get a fixed altar. I don't want to do that, so I just gave myself a ruined altar here. So we're going to spawn these all in again and try one more time. Come on, come on. Oh, that was so close. And it's also looking to be like it is way too likely that it destroys itself, because I definitely want you to be able to get one within 2 ritual sites. So we're going to tweak that and turn it down. Honestly, maybe even make it so that it can't destroy itself. I'm really getting tired of this, so I'm going to make it so that you can't destroy it. This really sucks. So I've gone ahead and changed it so that these have a lower chance of actually progressing, but no chance of breaking. And this will be available in the 1.0.8 update. So unfortunately, you guys will have a chance of breaking yours when brushing. But you can see if I go through all of these stages, boom. Finally, I get the repaired altar. And if I open this up, we have a whole menu in here. So let me quickly explain how this works. Altars have the ability to perform rituals. Up here, we have the offerings bar. Right here, it will indicate our power level. So based on what type of offerings we put in the bar, which includes only magical items, such as Nether stars, which are the most powerful, or some of the most powerful offerings we can give them, as well as skulls, various types of heads. All of them will work, not just wither skeleton skulls, but wither skeleton skulls are probably going to be your easiest ones to get. And then you have the easiest things to get, such as crying obsidian, and etc. So if we go up here, you'll notice as soon as we put something in the offerings bar, our power level starts to tick up. With our tier 1 offerings, they only go up by 16 for each one placed in here, which is a pretty low overall cap, especially compared to what happens when we put 9 nether stars in there. Now you'll notice it takes a while for this power level to charge up, and that is because our aid is only at 1. However, if we get some powerful magical blocks and set them on top of here, which could of course be a wither skeleton skull, you'll notice that aid bumps up to 3. That's because wither skeleton skulls are at a tier bonus of 3. But the best one is the dragon egg. If you go ahead and place a dragon egg on top of your altar, you'll get an aid of 4. Now if we place some nether stars in here, you'll notice that this jumps up way faster, actually 4 times faster, all the way up to our highest maximum power, currently of 576. Now what we have here is a basic crafting grid, so you can put some crafting grids in here. This is our resource cost, which is actually going to be a block of lapis, and then we have the ability to get up to 4 outputs right here. So if we grab some lapis blocks here, some enchanted dust, which is a new type of item that can be found in various structure chests, including abandoned mine shafts, desert temples, inn cities, jungle temples, ruined portals, strongholds, and woodland mansions. And now the only ritual we have right now is for our arcane swords, which are right here, which involve converting a gold sword, a cobalt sword, or a mithril sword into an upgraded version. Now you'll notice that they have more attack damage and they also have much more durability, so they're pretty much just better versions of all of the gold armor or the magical sword types. I might add upgraded versions of pickaxes and etc., but we shall see. You'll also need to spend some emeralds and of course some standard lapis as well. So if we open up our crafting grid here, the first thing you'll notice is I cannot put a full stack in. All of these item slots are limited to only 1 per, which is a little unfortunate. You will have to place everything in manually by hand every time, but if we put some lapis in like that, some emeralds in like that, and some enchanted dust like that, and then press cast, you'll notice we've got the crafting recipe wrong, and it plays that little error. That's because I've placed these in wrong. If we just rotate those and press cast, you'll notice it begins to cast our spell, creates a little magical sound, and then gives us the golden arcane sword. You'll also have noticed that our power level was depleted by about 100, and then quickly repleted because we have 8 up to 4 and a bunch of nether stars up here, and we now have our golden arcane sword. This is the only rituals that we have available to us right now. I really want to add some more rituals, but before I did that, I wanted to ask you all what you thought. So please give me some ideas on some more rituals, some more things that we can add to really make this altar super useful, super cool. One of the ideas I already had was making it so that you can automatically divine a specific enchantment, but unfortunately that is not possible with Mcreator, at least not easily possible. So any other ideas, please go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. I really want some ideas for what to do with this altar and some more rituals. But while we're on the topic of magic, we do have 2 brand new enchantments. The first one being Incendiary. Now this is exactly what you would think it is. You can put this on any tool, and that tool will gain the auto smelt ability. So if we grab ourselves an axe here and a pickaxe here, and grab an extra incendiary book, because of course we just grabbed two items, and then of course an anvil so that we can put this enchantment on here. We can put incendiary on any of our tools. I believe we can even put it on shovels, although I do believe I probably forgot to add the shovel ability, but let's check this out real quick. So we can put it on shovels. If we go ahead and chop down this tree right here with our incendiary axe, you'll notice it gives us charcoal right away, which is very cool. If we dig down into the earth here, because dirt doesn't have any sort of recipe when destroyed, it doesn't matter. But if we use our pickaxe to destroy the stone, you'll notice it gives us smooth stone, which is very cool. And if we use it to destroy this tin, you'll notice it gives us a tin ingot. It doesn't give us the 3 to 5 tin ingots. It doesn't apply properly. And I believe you cannot mix looting with incendiary, or fortune, I should say, or silk touch. It is a exclusive item, or exclusive enchantment, but I want to make it so that our tin and coppers, at the very least, give you a couple extra ones, and if we break the coal, of course, it does nothing. But it is a pretty nice alternative to having to smelt up everything manually. And last but not least, if we use our shovel on sand, it automatically gives us glass, which I think is probably the coolest and definitely most useful use for the incendiary enchantment. This is Editing Ace here to say that I actually forgot to cover the battle hardened enchantment, but pretty much all this does is it's an enchantment that can be applied to armor, but it is mutually exclusive with mending and unbreaking. That is to say, if you put battle hardened on your armor, you cannot get unbreaking or mending, because it will check for battle hardened, and for each level of battle hardened that you have, whenever you deal a critical hit, as you can see right here, you will have a 50% chance of healing the same amount of numbers or level that you have for the armor. So, for example, let's say that you have battle hardened times 5 on your armor, then every time you deal a critical hit, you will have a 50% chance of having that armor's durability go up by 5. Wrapping things up here, we have several new types of juice. There were already juices in the game, but I've actually added 6 more types. The banana juice here, and the tomato juice. Whoa, I need to rename that. That's cucumber juice, so that's another bug. The tomato juice and the banana juice and the cucumber juice are all healthy juices. The strawberry juice, the cherry juice, and the orange juice are all sugary juices. And for those of you that don't know, if you drink a sugary juice, you get speed and haste for just a few seconds. I believe it's about 5 seconds. And then if you drink a healthy juice, such as tomato juice, you get health regen and strength for just about the same amount of time. We also now have 3 new types of potion, the first of one being a potion of resistance. Now these are very cool potions that were not in the game before, and these can be brewed using carapace. Just like so, if you take a carapace over a water bottle, then you get a nice potion of resistance. You can upgrade that with glowstone, and then double it with lengthen it with redstone. We also now have a potion of boiling, which boiling is an effect that was already in the game, but I've gone ahead and added the ability to make it into a potion. And it looks like I forgot to add a crafting recipe for it, which is unfortunate and another bug, but it should then be able to be crafted using the wasted flesh that we get from our hellhounds in the nether, or our wasted dogs. What do we call those? A waste mongrel. It's a waste mongrel. But last but not least, we have a potion of decay, which is literally just a wither potion right here. These are in vanilla or Bedrock edition, but not in Java edition. So even though you cannot brew them in either one, they just exist on Bedrock. But I've gone ahead and added a recipe using an awkward potion here and our necrotic or withered bones right here, making a potion of decay. You can then upgrade it, of course, make it into a splash potion, and then make it a lingering potion as well. And that brings us to our very last addition for this update, which is the Watchtower remnant. Now these are just designed after the the pillager outpost that spawn in the overworld. This one happened to spawn in a pretty weird spot. You can see it kind of overwrote a lot of the terrain here, but that's totally fine by me. These spawn in literally every biome in the Nether except for the warped forests. They do have kind of strict spawning parameters, but as you can see, it's not super strict, as this one has kind of just straight up deleted all of the soul sand here. But they also have their own custom loot table, which I'm very excited about. So let's go ahead and kind of show you around the inside. And for now, they don't really have any ability to spawn piglins or anything like that, although I do want to add that ability, and I will do that as soon as I can. But you can see that this outpost has 2 chests instead of the 1, and when you open it up, it does mirror what the pillager outpost in the overworld would have quite a bit, but it obviously has some nether-related goodies instead. If we go up here to the 2nd floor, or maybe the 3rd floor, depending on what you'd call it, then we have a little bit of a watchtower out here and another chest. You can see it has a chance of giving you the snout armor trim. It cannot give you the rib armor trim, but it can give you the snout. And you also can get golden ear of corn, golden carrots, a bunch of things, spectral arrows, and you can also get the piglin scrap, which is like netherite scrap, but of course negates piglin aggro from the piglin armor I showed you earlier, which is pretty nice. So keep an eye out for these things while you are exploring the Nether, because at least as of right now, they aren't going to be that dangerous. That will change soon, but they will be quite lucrative in terms of the loot that you can possibly get. So keep your eyes out for them, but that's pretty much all of our additions for this update. Let's move right on to bug fixes. So our next bug fix is with our African elephants, and I've actually already discovered another bug. The first one being, if I go ahead and tame both of these guys, which it seems like this guy is now tame, and then this guy is now tame. If I hit this guy with an axe, this other elephant will start to hit him, and they will then fight each other, which I don't know why you'd ever want to tusk one of your elephants, but that's obviously a little bit of a problem. We should not have this guy ever attacked an entity which is tamed to the player, which hit them or that they own. You don't want to be able to accidentally kill your own elephants. But if we go ahead and kill these guys off real quick, spawn in both of these elephants, and then tusk them before taming them, we can see here we can chop this guy down to 1 tusk. This other guy here has 2 tusks, and then if we tame them and then breed them, we can easily breed them together. And even though they both have they don't have the same amount of tusks, once they come together, which is kind of hard because they run into each other and like hit each other before they can. It's kind of weird. Whoa, stop it. Why are you doing this? So as you can see, even though they technically can now breed with only 1 tusk, there is another bug kind of preventing them from being able to do so, because they'll just attack each other because you've hit them and they're now tamed. It's super weird. But beyond that, there is another bug with these guys. If I chop off both this guy's tusks, he drops 2 tusks, but if I hit him again, he drops another tusk, and he will just keep dropping tusks as many times as I hit him, no matter how many trunks he has, which is obviously a problem. Luckily though, it's not a problem that the baby elephants have, so that's kind of nice. But moving away from that sad discovery, another bug that was fixed is the malachite bud and the malachite cluster now have inventory textures. Lots of changes to our limestone, our polished limestone and regular limestone halves and corners. Before they were generating underground, now they will no longer generate underground because that was a bug and not intended. Their bounding box now matches their model, as you can see here, and they also now have block rotation, which, yeah, we had an absolute ton of bugs with these, but you can see all of them now have proper block rotation, a proper bounding box, and I promise they are not generating underground anymore, which is very nice. Stone sickles now have flavor text, the same flavor text that all the other sickles have. Previously they were missing it. They also got a little bit of a texture change. You may have noticed this one before, but our Crucible GUI is now perfectly fixed. If we close it and open it over and over again, it is not going to reset our smelt progress. Our Crucible no longer, as far as I am aware, has any sort of bugs whatsoever and is working completely fine. You can also see here that our blueberries, like our elderberries, are now generating properly and are not just floating in giant patches in the air, which was a huge problem, but now they are generating here just fine. And our dispensers are now properly dispensing XP buckets. As you can see right here, it properly dispenses that XP out onto the ground. Then if I press it again, it is, not keeping the bucket or anything like that, but it is at least properly dispensed, so that's one step in the right direction. And if I put the smoke bomb in here and press the button, that is now properly dispensed and properly spawns in smoke. You can now properly destroy blocks when you're holding blueberries. This was a weird bug, but if you tried to destroy anything while holding a blueberry, it just wouldn't work, but that is now gone. As you can see, you can now destroy things just fine. And the Wheel of Cheese is finally working the way it is intended to. If we place it down, it places properly. You cannot place one on top of the other like you could before. If you destroy the block below it, it is completely deleted. And if you continue to right click on it, you will eat slices of it until it is completely gone. The Wheel of Cheese is now working exactly as cake is, and I am just really happy with this and the way it's working. And last but not least, our palm leaves now properly decay. So if we come here and break out all these palm trees and then increase the random tick speed, you'll notice that these all decay properly. And like I said before, they drop bananas. But that brings us to our changes. And as you might be able to tell, our gold sickle texture has changed. Our diamond sickle texture here has changed. And our iron sickles texture here has also changed. I also mentioned the stone one earlier, but pretty much all the vanilla textures have all changed just to make them fit a little bit better. I've also slightly tweaked the knife texture here. I think it looks much better. If you have a keen eye, you might notice that our blueberry bush texture has changed ever so slightly. Along with the rabbit hat tide texture, it's right here, it's gotten a nice border. I think that makes the item look a little bit better. Several of our custom deep slate ores now have deep slate ore audio when placed. Before it was stone, but now it will sound properly like deep slate when placed. I have modified the juice recipes here to be pretty much twice as expensive as they were before. I just think this is a little bit more balanced. Tuff bricks, the new type of Tuff bricks, now have their own corners and halves and fences, along with the polished Tuff. Something I can't really demonstrate, but all of our crops now use the bone meal action trigger instead of just when right clicked. So if you have other mods that add other types of fertilizers and other types of bone meal, they should now work seamlessly with my mod and all of our crops and anything that uses bone meal, which is nice. Elephants no longer drop tusks when killed, regardless of how many tusks they have. Although, like I said before, there is a bug where if you continue to smack it with an axe, heal it up, smack it again, it will just continue to drop tusks no matter how many tusks it has currently. A very cool addition is any type of dust or powder will now be ejected from a dispenser in a dust cloud instead of just being spit out, except for the enchanted dust, which I do want to add the ability to do. I just completely forgot. But if we go ahead and flip this, you can see I believe that was sulfur. And then if we flip it again, that was our purple glowstone. That is our blaze powder. That is our sugar, I believe. Yep, that was sugar. That is regular glowstone, that is yellow glowstone, cyan glowstone, red glowstone. I believe that is our malachite dust, which, yep, it does seem to be. That is our purple glowstone. That is our lime glowstone. That is our redstone. That is our pink glowstone. That is our teal. And that is gunpowder. That is orange. That is green, that is blue, and that is sawdust. and I believe that is all of them. There's a slight problem that it doesn't seem to eject and go this way. It just kind of spawns in a cloud in front of it, which, you know, maybe we can improve upon that, but for right now, I do think this is working pretty well, and I do really love this feature. The next change is that our beaver axe now takes damage dependent on how many blocks it chopped down, whereas before it would only take 1 damage for chopping down this entire thing. Now it is taking damage dependent on this, so the more logs that we cut down, if we continue to just chop down gigantic trees like this, you can see it's going to lose durability very quickly. Although it does have a very high durability, which is honestly something I think I'm probably going to change, as I don't think it should be quite as high as it is, but either way, I think this is a very good change. Our monster jerky here no longer provides the antidote effect when consumed. I just felt like that was a little bit overpowered for something as common as monster jerky. I don't believe there's any way to get the antidote effect right now, although I definitely have some ideas on how to implement that in the future. I have removed 3 different items from the mod, the first being the bowl of water, as it had pretty much no use whatsoever, and I couldn't think of any reason to have it in the mod. I also removed wolf meat because a viewer kind of pointed out to me how cursed and disgusting that is, that you can kill and eat wolves, and I happen to agree with them. I don't think it really fit the feel and the theme of the mod, so I decided to remove it. And then I also unfortunately had to remove the flamingo wings in order to get this update out on time. There is a new bug with the GeckoLib plugin, which is how I animate the flamingo wings, or at least was trying to animate the flamingo wings, and it was causing build errors every time I tried to launch the game. So in order to get this update out to y'all on time, I just had to remove them. So anyone who grinded away to get flamingo wings, I am truly sorry. I know they're rare, but they are gone now. I will add them back as soon as I possibly can. And along with the flamingo wings, I also removed the avian adventurer advancement that you get from acquiring them. Pretty much all of our custom foods in here have had their nutritional values and saturation reworked to better fit what felt like was vanilla values and whatnot. Coconut chunks can now be crafted using the coconut right here. You only get 1 of them though, whereas if you go and find a coconut tree and you chop down that coconut tree or those coconuts directly with an axe or a sword, you get, I believe, 2 to 3. We can easily test that out right here. Yeah, you get up to 3, I believe, so it's going to be much more beneficial if you just chop them down this way with a sword or an axe instead of breaking them or letting them drop from the leaves when the leaves decay. Confusion potions have been renamed from Potion of Pawn Fusion to Potion of Confusion. Potion of Pawn Fusion is a reference to a board game called Munchkin, and I really do like that game, but I think it just makes more sense to not have them referencing that, and they have been changed to an actual potion type because I didn't realize that potion types were in the game. So instead of a throwable item, they are just a potion type, which means you now have lingering potions of confusion and arrows of confusion, which is pretty nice. Several items are now compostable, including every single item in this chest. All the coral here represents every single type of coral. It's not just tube coral, but every single type of coral can be composted here as well. Several types of eggs, scoots, sliced items, pretty much anything that would be biodegradable in real life is now compostable. If you think I missed anything, please let me know in the comments down below or in my Discord channel. This leather here represents all types of leather, pelts, hides, skins, etc., all of which are now compostable as well. But as the sun sets, that is going to do it for all of the additions, bugs fixes, and changes in this version. There are a couple of known bugs still. Every single bug we discovered in this video together has already been fixed, although it is not available to you all yet. It will be out and released. All of these bugs that we showed in this video will be fixed in the 1.0.8 update. I've already fixed pretty much all of them, and hopefully that update is coming to you sometime in mid-January, so just over the horizon. I want to let everyone know that I'm kind of going to be shifting my focus from here on. Instead of trying to add new things, we're going to be trying to fine tune and really hone in all the things that we've added so far. That doesn't mean we won't add new things. Sometimes in order to fine tune and really hone in what you've added so far, you need to add more things to accompany them, and I'm not afraid to do that, but I'm really going to try and focus on getting this mod into an excellent playable state and less focused on just adding new things. Thank you so much for everyone who's been supporting the mod so far. Once again, if you want to join the Discord to chat with us and continue to support the mod or even share your work on your mod, feel free to join at the link in the description down below. But without further ado, that's everything for today. Take care, guys. Peace out. And of course, Merry Christmas.